Hello everyone, welcome back to another video brought to you by webvidtuts.com. This is video 25 in the HTML training series, and in this video we'll be learning about CSS IDs. As we learned in the last video, a class is something that you can make to apply to several different elements to give certain characteristics to those elements that you don't want to give to certain other elements that you have on your page. And so that you can easily change those elements that you want to keep the same. So it's easier to change them through just going to CSS and just changing the colors or the font size, just all things like that. They can easily change into CSS, and then it'll apply to both of them without you having to go into each one's like p tag, for instance, and then go into the style attribute and change them manually through that. So that was pretty nice about the classes, that it solves that problem and makes it a lot easier for you to change your styles and your web pages. There's one more that we can learn about. It's called the ID. Now ID is the exact same thing as a class, of where you can apply it to an element to give it certain characteristics. But unlike an ID, or unlike a class, an ID can only be applied to one single element on the entire page. That means only one element can have that one ID, and that's what makes it special, and that's what makes it different between a class, because a class can be applied to however many elements you want to be applied to on the page, but ID is one specific element that it can be applied to. So let's go ahead and start coding this. Let's go ahead and open our style sheet up, our style tag up, type equals CSS, or it's text / CSS. And once we get this typed out, we'll give you an example of how to type an ID out and how to apply it onto an element. Now, to first declare an ID, you have to write the pound sign or the number sign, and that's just saying, like, hey CSS, this is an ID right here, so only apply it to one element. And right after that, you can just type whatever the name of the ID that you want. So we'll name this my ID. Simple enough. And then put the curly braces right there, and then let's just change the color of the text to red. That's a pretty nice color. Now let's go down here and let's make a paragraph tag, and let's just write, hello, this is a paragraph tag. So when we run the page, nothing happens because we didn't apply the ID to anything right now. So we're going to go ahead and apply this ID right here, my ID, to this paragraph tag right here, or this paragraph element. An element is just basically saying a tag. It's basically a tag. That's what an element is. I'm not sure if I explained that yet, but now I did. So let's go ahead and apply my ID to this paragraph element right here. Now what we do is basically the same thing as we did with class. We went to the paragraph tag, and then, but this time we type in ID instead of class, and then we just set the ID to my ID. And we don't put the pound sign here because we're not declaring that it's an ID. We're just putting the ID right here because we already know it's an ID because we made it already. And so, since an ID can only be applied to one element, this is the only element that will ever have that ID of my ID. So if we go ahead and test this, the text is now red. So we can't make another paragraph tag right here and apply that same ID to it. Hello, this is another paragraph tag. But if we test it, it'll still give it the same characteristics as the first one, but this is actually not valid at all, because we're putting one ID on 2 different elements, which that is not good at all. If you want to put the class or the ID on 2 different elements, that we're going to have to convert it to a class. And that's the main difference between ID and class. That an ID can be for one, class is for several. Now, why would we use an ID? Well, when you're making a web page and you want one certain area to be called something and another area to be called something, we can use IDs to call it like left side of page, because we don't want to keep using that over and over on each of our elements and make all our stuff would be the left side of the page. But if we want this other paragraph to be on the right side of the page, this one paragraph to be on the right side of the page, we give an ID of right side of page, just something like that. Or just like on webpages, like we have an ID for banner, and we have another ID for the main body container, and that's basically how we use them on our site. You can take a look at the source code. I mean, all you have to do is right click on the page and look at it. We aren't really hiding anything from you. And that's just how you use an ID. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it cleared up some information about IDs versus classes. Go ahead and check out our site at www.webpages.com. Go ahead and register as a member there, and go ahead and subscribe on our YouTube channel. That is all. And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.